Welcome everyone to Health Coach TV. If you are struggling with a bloated belly, joint pain, stiffness, you're just not feeling like yourself, you're definitely going to want to listen to our amazing wellness angel. Welcome, Angel.
Hi, thank you for having me today. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, you are just a wealth of information. Not only have you owned and operated your own successful Pilates studio, Pilates Angel, but you also have your own organic meal delivery service. But more importantly, now you are combining those and incorporating both the best of all worlds for clients. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the story of you, your personal story of your gut health, somebody who's been like a kind of a fitness junkie all her life. So activity was important, but then you had some major stressors that happened and that impacted your gut health. And I think a lot of people here can relate to that, where their gut health is really negatively impacted, and what that has inspired you to create and to be able to offer to people is outstanding. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited to dive into your story. So tell people a little bit about your background, where you're from, where you're living, where you're hanging out, where your great things are, and what is it that you do now? And we'll kind of get into how you came to do that.
Okay, great. So I was raised on the East Coast and I moved to California when I was 18, bought a one-way ticket to California. And prior to that, I was always very active. I was a cheerleader my whole life. I was always into fitness and movement. When I moved to California, I studied Spanish. I got a degree in Spanish, and I was going to go to school to be a nurse. So I was taking my prerequisites at a junior college, and I ended up getting a job in the medical field, managing a very busy internal medicine office because I could speak Spanish. Well, I didn't realize at the time, but that was the starting point to actually get me full circle to where I am today. So, working at this internal medicine practice, I had the most amazing good fortune of working with board certified internists that were all uh, they all had a specialty in some form of holistic medicine. So I had been introduced to transcendental meditation, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, massage, all of these various modalities. And this was, in the 90s. So it was definitely forward thinking. Fast forward to it was probably the end of the 90s, and I had discovered Pilates and decided that that was the end all be all for me. And I went to school in Boulder, Colorado. I flew back and forth from LA, did an amazing program, learned Pilates, and decided to leave medicine to teach Pilates full time. So I opened a Pilates studio pretty much from day one after certification and just hit the ground running. I loved it. It was, to this day, I own and operate a studio in Hermosa Beach. But after a few years later, having beautiful twin boys and sadly going through a divorce, I personally started to develop some really bad digestive issues that really took me down. And, it was really the first time in my life that I'd ever really felt, just like I couldn't heal myself, because I usually was so used to, moving so much and helping others. And this was the first time where I started to really feel taken down by the symptoms of bloating and, like really bad distension, constipation, and definitely I was going through a stressful time for sure. But nonetheless, I was always of the mindset of I can heal myself, So after many, many agonizing nights in bed, staying up, scouring the internet, and, drawing from all of those modalities that I had learned in the 90s when I was working at the internist office, I saw every doctor known to mankind. And I finally was able to really heal my own gut, which then, started me down the path of nutrition. And so I had always given my Pilates clients lots of advice on nutrition and dieting because I was, very fit, very active, had lots of energy until that, stressful time in my life where I thought I was very healthy. Then my body was signaling to me that there was some underlying stuff going on. So from there, during that time, I started to draw from all of those modalities of the traditional Chinese medicine. And I realized, I thought I was eating really healthy and clean, but it was predominantly raw. And so my body didn't want to digest raw food. It needed heat, it needed, roots and more fire, because what I was basically doing is having in traditional Chinese medicine, they call it yin. It's too cold of a diet. So
Mhm.
even though I thought I was eating great food, sushi and, lots of, salads, which I still do, it's just my system wasn't able to do it. And um, when I finally, really went through the steps of learning nutrition, I went through IIN, the best program, Institute of Integrative Nutritionists. I furthered that education, became a gut health specialist, and then a hormone health specialist. And one of the things that stands out from that training that I still talk to clients today, in my health coaching program, I offer a comprehensive program, is that physiologically speaking, our bodies are only able to either stress or digest. They're
Mhm.
not able to do both.
Mhm.
So that was like, wow, when you think, you've got it all together, there's sometimes this underlying, stuff going on that is then revealing itself to you. And it's just a matter of really listening.
I just love all of that. So really, being a fitness enthusiast, being a cheerleader, moving to California, I mean, I can just imagine, the guts that it took at that young age to kind of venture out there. And then to start running your own business, that's stressful. Having twins, another stressor. Going through a divorce, another stressor. And then having that wreak havoc on your gut health. And, when you look back, it is interesting. It's almost like all of those, knowing what you do now, it's almost like all of those were like, okay, here's the next puzzle piece for you. Here's the next stepping stone, puzzle piece for you to piece it all together so that you can do the amazing work that you do now. I often say, I wish we lived closer. I wish I lived closer to you. I mean, it's the dream. It's the Pilates, but also the organic meal delivery. Oh my gosh, like if somebody could just take that and just, yes, send it my way. I promise I will eat it. That it's
Right, right.
what to have and what
Well,
to do.
I definitely felt like with that piece of adding, the education about nutrition and gut health and hormone health, for me, it really was transformative and, just took my own health and personal experience to the next level.
Yeah.
And given that I was already working very closely with clientele, with movement and helping them to rid their body of painful and stiff joints,
Mhm.
you really can't have only one. You have to have, diet and nutrition. And then obviously, there is a mental, emotional, spiritual component, so being an integrated nutrition health coach, I feel like I get to touch on all of that. And, following the education on nutrition, you know, I I basically had met a holistic nutritionist on a retreat, and I had initially said, hey, if I give you 10 clients, can you prepare these 5 things for us weekly? And so he said, sure. So he started doing that, and then all of a sudden, I really came to, and I said, well, wait a minute, why am I not offering this? But I knew
Yeah.
I wanted it for myself, and I knew all my clients, could benefit from it. So that was really what prompted me to then, start the Wellness Angel business, which is, an organic anti-inflammatory meal delivery program, which now I offer, in conjunction with the Pilates and the health coaching. And so the results are just amazing. People have like a complete transformation. It's amazing.
I love it. And so, really, your clients were coming to you and asking you questions as well. And that's kind of what prompted you. Is that what prompted you to become a health coach and to blend all of this together?
Yes, for sure. I definitely felt, that given the fact that I had mastered how to heal my own bloat and, distension and constipation, and I had hair loss, and I had a lot of really, pretty traumatic symptoms going on, and a lot of Western doctors, were not able to give me the information that got me to, feeling great again. So I felt like once I got through the other side of that, I was already helping, a certain population, but it wasn't the full, overall, total wellness that now I feel like I can really uh my 8-week program that I offer is called Revelation, and it's 8 weeks to the true you. And I really believe that, now I have all of the pieces to really, really help everybody to reveal their truest, healthiest version of themselves.
Yeah, so good when you can actually
Yeah.
work closely with people, um, and and really to bring all of your experience from all of the different aspects, and both personally and then professionally as well. And I know that you feel strongly, like a lot of people will be coming to you because um, they are wanting to lose weight or they have belly bloating. I know that you work with a lot of the high-powered executives, especially in LA and the surrounding areas, and they are that's what they're wanting to look good and then to feel good. And you have your own kind of observation when it comes to weight loss and things like that. What would you share about that? Like, it's not just like calories in, calories out, but you have some philosophies about that.
Right. So I would say, definitely one of the first things that I touched upon with a client, obviously, everybody is unique. Everybody has their own constitution that they're coming in with. So it's
Yeah.
not one size fits all at all, with the exception of there are 5 top inflammatory triggers that in my program they are not included. So that's just an easy thing. The clients don't have to even think about that. We're removing gluten, soy, dairy, corn, and refined sugar, so they don't have to think about it. But then, when they're not on the actual meal delivery, it's like, how do you go about your regular life, And so I feel that, I like to empower my clients to just start off by just taking one small step in the right direction. And then with that step in the right direction, for example, I might say, on your weekends when you're not getting meal delivery or you're not coming to Pilates, you're not seeing me, just try to, not have any gluten in your diet. That's usually the thing I start with. And people hem and haw, and they, it's very challenging at first, but then once they do it, it's amazing because they're like, it wasn't that hard. I felt so great. And, the results happen so fast. And so from that starting point, then it's much easier, to then add the next little change rather than have a client go from point A to point Z, all or nothing. I feel like, my area of expertise is really holding their hand and just being their cheerleader, and just reminding them that one small step in the right direction is going to actually effectuate some pretty big time change.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. That's really like I think it's one of the biggest myths that people have when and for yourself as somebody who is a owned and operated your own Pilates studio for years, and then now has your own organic meal delivery service, and then now as a health coach, bringing them both together. I believe that would be one of the myths that you would say people have is, or what is one of the biggest myths that you see out there when people are looking to create this healthy transformation?
Yeah, I do think it's what, I was just touching upon is that I think people have an all or nothing approach to health and wellness, and whether it's that they, want to fit into their jeans or, they they're really not feeling well, like I was, whatever that is, just knowing that just taking the step to go forward in the right direction and changing one small thing, the results will come to you, and it'll allow you the space to then do more, rather than just getting overwhelmed by it and going, I just can't do anything,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
so I think that the biggest myth is that it takes a huge overhaul.
Right. Yeah. So those baby steps, focusing on one thing, being consistent. I think that's important because
Right. And IIN, which was the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, I loved one of their theories, which they called it crowding out, which is exactly that, just pushing out one little piece of your life and lifestyle. Could be diet, could be movement, anything, drinking water or not, and then just replacing it with something that is more positive. And for me, it would also depend on the person in front of me and what their goal is, so I can, work with clients, and then specifically we can decide, what's the best, one step to start with initially, and then go from there.
yeah, I love it. Yeah. So focusing on what can they eat rather than all the things that are forbidden, but
Right.
get enough of that good stuff in there.
Yes.
That I love that. That's excellent. How exactly do you work with people? Give people like, um, a lot of the people that I interview, they're all
Mhm.
virtual. They're 100% virtual. And but your practice is a little bit unique. Give us a little insight into what it's like. What do they get? What do you do? I know it's customized and I know it's different and I know you're always evolving, but just kind of give us a little hint into how you create these amazing transformations and gut health improvements for people. Just kind of how do you work with people?
Yeah, so the Revelation program that I offer is 8 weeks until the true you, and I offer clients twice a week private one-on-one Pilates with me at my studio in Hermosa Beach. It's beautiful, ocean view, very intimate. Clients love it. And then they're also getting 4 days a week organic anti-inflammatory meal delivery. So you don't really have to think about any of what to eat, because it's the entire day's worth of food. It's a whole program, a system that there's a method to the madness. We're creating a pH balanced environment. We're removing the inflammatory triggers. We're getting their vital organs to function properly, so that they're not bogged down, so that then they get more energy. And the health coaching component is concierge, in that it's specific to each client's individual need. So some clients, we spend a lot of time going over supplements. Other clients, they want to overhaul their home pantry. It's anything and everything to get my clients to the total transformation and to reveal their true self, which we're all innately well, right? And so it's really just to undo all the stuff, what I mean, that's bogging us down, so that you can feel vital, vibrant energy.
That I love that. I mean, I really feel like it is the complete package. It's the dream. It's the dream of what people would ideally want. I mean, really to have that level of support and structure and tools and mindset and the whole package is just fantastic.
Yeah.
As someone like yourself who's a gut health specialist, why is it so important to help people with their gut health? We hear a lot about gut health. In your experience or and perspective, why is gut health such a big deal?
Well, there's a lot more information now that's being put out in the medical community about, the gut brain axis.
Mhm.
And, so your gut is, they're now saying, specialists are saying that in the medical community that, your gut is governing, up to 90% of your immunity, which is huge, right? And you always hear, you have a gut feeling, et cetera. There's lots of references to gut. And it's actually quite true, because if you go back to what I said in the beginning of our interview, that your body physiologically is only able to stress or digest, that's
Yeah.
a pretty good indicator right there of the importance of what's happening in your gut and how it's affecting, what I mean, every other body system. So I think the number one thing would be, if you're having an underlying layer of inflammation, cleaning out your gut, that's going to start to mitigate any other systemic disorder that you have. It literally can be, pre-diabetes, it could be, dementia, it can be joint pain and stiffness. And the one other thing that I am so happy that I, am remembering to get this message out, because I think this is huge, is that gluten being inflammatory, and one of the triggers that I believe should be removed, if you really want ideal gut health, the number one organ that is affected by gluten is your brain.
Mhm.
So I think people are always thinking, if they're having gut symptoms, then that it's all there, but it's really, affecting all of your body systems. So that I just think that, removing inflammation, starting to heal your gut is really just going to have the domino effect of total wellness.
Yeah. And at small levels and large levels, like, even just subtly brain fog, which I think sometimes people don't even know that they have brain fog
True.
until it's removed and you're like, wow, I can think clearly, I can see clearly, everything's clearer
Yeah.
now. And it's just
Yeah.
a revelation, as you say. And
Yes.
I think, when you think about stress or digest, I mean, think about 90% of doctors' visits are for stress related illnesses, and people are stressed. Most people will say, I'm stressed. I think if you did a poll, I think 90% of adults are going to say, I'm stressed, and even children are stressed. And so I don't think that that's a coincidence that we have so many people with so many digestive issues, or the symptoms, which they might not really know that they have a digestive issue, but they have the aches and the joint pains and so on that goes along with that. And I think it's very interesting. So I think it requires more of a conversation. More and more people are realizing and putting the two and two together, but just so awesome that what you do. So if there are people out there, maybe they have joint pain or maybe they have bloating, things like that, brain fog, any tips that you can share with them that they could start to implement like today? Because they might not be able to connect with you right away. So what?
Right, right. I definitely think the number one thing is to really tune in and listen to your body. And, our body is always speaking to us in the form of sensation. And I
Mhm.
think our lives are so busy that, we easily, sort of push them aside. But, if you're having, for example, a gut feeling about something, that's usually a pretty good indicator. If you're feeling crampy, if you're eating something and you're feeling bloated immediately, like, don't ignore that. That's actually a sign that you have, some kind of an intolerance or a sensitivity. So I would say number one, listen to your body. I would say, if you're experiencing symptoms, you're not feeling like you have vibrant energy, or you're not feeling well, I would say start with removing inflammatory triggers. Number one being gluten, but then I would go soy, dairy, corn, and refined sugar. Um, and then, thirdly, I would say don't forget to breathe. Something I always remind my revelation clients and, the clients that I work throughout the year with in a more advanced wellness program, I always remind them just to simply just remember to breathe, because that's just huge. Working with your gut health, that will come with working with a specialist like myself or somebody else that you connect with. But those other three pieces, they're simple.
Yeah, I love it. What are some of the spin-off benefits that you've seen when you're working with clients? They might be after one thing, but then something else improves. Any examples of some spin-off benefits?
Yeah, actually, I love that question because, most often people are coming to me because, they're feeling bloated, and stiff. Um, but I do notice that their disposition usually pretty quickly changes. And from the time they walk in to see me to the time that they leave, even just after a couple sessions, I do notice a lightness in their whole aura and energy. They just sort of seem more content, and their disposition is just happier, because if you think about how your body is holding on to toxins and stressors, cellularly, right? So as we're releasing that, through stretching and, lengthening and strengthening and then removing the inflammatory triggers, it's amazing how, you quite literally become and feel lighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so there's definitely that and less anxiety, but definitely I would say I'm, more joy and just a feeling of really owning your power and, accomplishment, of just doing something that feels so good,
Yeah.
because when you feel good, that's really, what we're all after.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning a lady that, and I'm sure this happens a lot, and it's one
Yeah.
of those things that's kind of magical, I'm going to say, about Pilates in particular, when you put that into the mix. But one woman who like literally changed her body. Remember that
Yes.
lady?
Yes, it happens a lot. Clients that go through my program, I mean, it actually happens pretty fast and pretty easily, Once you actually take away, the inflammation, your body is able to just function and do what it's supposed to do. But this one woman in particular, she was young. She and her husband, we were both young, 30 years old, I believe. And she lost, 15 pounds on her own. And as she was, losing the weight, her husband was also losing the weight. And so, combined, they ended up losing 35 pounds in 8 weeks. And, their whole life just completely changed. Their their habits, their eating, they were walking hand in hand each night, walking and watching the sunset. It was just so beautiful to see. She just, seemed so quiet and inward. And, through the end of the 8 weeks, she and her husband were, just like vibrant and, just so much more energy. It was wonderful.
Yeah, like a lot of times when, especially when now you have a lot of male and female, because it's a lot of executives that come to you partly by
Yeah.
your position, but when especially whoever's doing the cooking is in the household, but it could be either person in there. If they're changing their eating habits and their lifestyle, it kind of rubs off. So I love that. I remember experiencing that as well. As one person got healthy, their spouses also got healthy. What about there was another woman that I was thinking of though, and she was like a high-powered exec. But and you also helped her transform her body. Tell us a little bit about her.
Okay, so the woman that we're speaking of, she definitely has um had the role of being the caretaker and the provider to everybody in her life.
Mhm.
And so coming to me and working so closely with me, it's just been so fun for me to be on this journey with her because she is has decided in doing revelation and working with a health coach, that she for the first time ever really is just doing this for herself. And one time she was in her private class with me and I'm training her and she just stopped mid class and said, I just need a hug. And it was so sweet because, she just jumped off the Cadillac, which is one of the Pilates apparatus, and stood up and gave me a hug. And, it was so rewarding because obviously she must have felt so good and she must have, been emoting in that moment. And we
Yeah.
talked about it, from a health coaching standpoint, because I said, you're releasing so much by being here. And when you release, it your feelings come out and that's such a beautiful thing because you're not walking around carrying this feeling heavy. And it was just such a touching moment, because she was able to really just be soft and not have to be this energy of doing.
And you can just imagine her, and I know that she got a longer, leaner look, and which a sleeker look, I think you had said it, and to transform the visual of your body. Okay, that's one thing, and that's kind of what people are expecting when they come to see you. But then you take this high-powered exec, it's kind of like, and especially as a woman, never let them see a sweat. Like she can't go to the boardroom and say,
Right.
Get a hug, like, "Rah, she's done, right? She's done.
Right.
You are the leader. You're taking care of everybody. You're giving, giving, giving. And so it's so nice that there's an opportunity where you can fill up your well back and, you can receive and that you can feel supported. And then you could just be her. And she could do this for her to fuel herself up. Because on some level, she knows that's what it's going to require for her to really show up. And I think that's potentially why you attract so many like high-powered executives, because they don't have an outlet necessarily everywhere.
Right.
And
And by the way, the longer, sleeker, leaner body, that's just a byproduct of the method. This piece that you're talking to me about is even more important, really, because
yeah,
that's going to happen. The body's going to change. There's no way it won't. It's
yeah,
just built into the method of working with spring-loaded tension because you're elongating your muscles. So
love,
that's happening in the background, but this was like really profound, that's something that really can change, your life from the standpoint of just feeling so much more joy.
love it, love it.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been so good. And I know you have to run. I know you have a class to
Yes.
for clients that are waiting for you. How can people connect with you or ask you questions? Where can they reach you?
Yeah. So I have a website, thewellnessangel.com, and you can find me there and you can learn all about, my various offerings. Also Angel Life. And I do live the wellness angel life. So, the more people that I can help, to live the wellness angel life, the better. So, thank you so much, Dr. Shaunna.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So thewellnessangel.com,
Angel, yes.
thewellnessangel.com. And you can find her on Instagram at the Wellness Angel Life. So excellent. Thank you so very
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
My pleasure. And thank you all for listening. If you have questions or comments, put them below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode. Be good for you.